Hello, I'm Elaine Floyd, Director of Retirement and Life Planning for Horse's Mouth and author of the Savvy Social Security Planning for Boomers package. In this orientation segment, I'm going to walk you through the Spousal Planning Calculator. This is the calculator you'll use the most. We'll cover the break-even calculators in Part 4 of this orientation series on how to use the calculators. Here we see a screenshot of the Spousal Planning Calculator. This is what you see when you open the file Spousal Planning Calculator 0310 that came on your disk or downloaded from the Savvy Social Security website. The 0310 appendage refers to the date the calculator was last updated. The latest version of the Spousal Planning Calculator was updated in March of 2010. When you first open the file, the cursor will be next to the word Advisor, but don't start typing yet. Remember, before you do any work with any Savvy calculator, be sure to do a Save As and give it a unique file name so you can preserve the original file. I keep a practice calculator handy on my desktop, which I use for running different scenarios. I know it's okay to change the numbers because the original file is tucked away in a safe place on my hard drive. At the top, you see that before we enter any data into the file, we've saved the file as Spousal Planning Analysis for Bob and Betty Smith. To start, we enter the basic information at the top, your name, firm, and phone number, the client's name, and the date of the analysis. Because the year is almost over when we're doing this, we enter the year as 2012. Then we enter Bob and Betty's ages. Use the age on their closest birthday. That is, if their birthday is less than 6 months from now, round up. Otherwise, use their current age. Enter their PIAs using one of the methods discussed in Part 2. Okay, now we get into the scenario planning. You'll notice the tabs at the bottom allow for 6 different scenarios. Starting out with Scenario 1, we'll first describe the scenario in the scenario description box. Then in column H, we'll enter the different ages when they each might start claiming Social Security. The calculator will figure out the benefit amounts from the PIAs, adjusting for either the reduction for claiming before full retirement age or the delayed credits for claiming after full retirement age. It will also adjust for COLAs. There are several ways to start. You might ask the clients about their plans for working, how long they plan to work in their current job, do they plan to work after retirement, and so on. Also talk about sources of income. The beauty of this calculator is that it allows you to customize the scenarios based on what your clients need. So if your clients tell you that they really want to start benefits as early as possible, you can enter that into the calculator as Scenario 1 and then try out other scenarios. So for Scenario 1, let's have both Bob and Betty take their benefits at 62. We describe this in the scenario description box and enter 62 in cell H13, the age at which the husband will claim benefits on his work record. We also enter 62 in cells H15 and H17. The H15 is the age at which the wife will claim benefits on her work record, and H17 is the age at which the wife will claim benefits on her husband's work record. The calculator automatically fills in the benefit amounts. Bob's benefit will be $1,650. For Betty, the calculator compares the benefit based on her own work record of 634 and the benefit based on her husband's work record of 814 and chooses the higher one. We'll leave the COLA at 2.8% and we'll use the default life expectancy ages of 85 for Bob and 95 for Betty. In the lower panel, we see their income. In 2012, when Bob is 62, his benefit will be $1,696 per month, or $20,354 per year. Betty's will be 0 because she's only 60 and not eligible for Social Security yet. In 2014, when Betty turns 62, her spousal benefit starts. Looking at all the columns going across from the left, we see the year, the wife's age in that year, the husband's age in that year, the wife's COLA adjusted monthly benefit, the wife's COLA adjusted annual benefit, the husband's COLA adjusted monthly benefit, the husband's COLA adjusted annual benefit, their combined monthly benefit, their combined annual benefit, and the cumulative total. Seeing their benefits laid out this way, year by year, at the spouse's respective ages is very useful for doing retirement income planning and helping clients analyze the various claiming scenarios. It's especially helpful for determining which spouse can do what and when. For example, we see here that when Bob is 62, Betty will be only 60 and not yet eligible for her spousal benefit. When you get into some of the fancy claiming strategies, this will be important. For example, if you want to have a high-earning husband claim his spousal benefit under the claim now, claim more later scenario, you have to keep two things in mind. He can't do it before his wife has filed for her benefit, and he can't do it before he is age 66. So by laying out their year-by-year ages this way, you can see when he would be eligible to claim the spousal benefit. We'll talk more about this later. This slide shows the rest of the income stream. We see that when Bob reaches his life expectancy of 85, his benefit stops, and Betty's benefit jumps from $1,453 to the higher survivor benefit of $3,201. This is a very powerful illustration of survivor benefits. In a minute, you'll see that it makes a strong case for the high-earning husband delaying the start of his benefit to age 70 because that will give his wife the highest income in her old age. Okay, now let's try out some more scenarios. To get to Scenario 2, we click on the Scenario 2 tab at the bottom. Here we'll have Bob and Betty each claim their benefits at their full retirement age of 66. So we enter this into the scenario description box, and we enter age 66 in cell H13 for Bob, and we enter 66 in cells H15 and H17 for Betty. Again, the calculator will figure out whether her own or her spousal benefit is higher and start the income stream with the correct COLA-adjusted amount. As we see down below, Bob's benefit will start at $2,457 in 2016 when he is 66, and Betty's will start at $1,298 in 2018 when she is 66. And here we see the income stream for Scenario 2. In 2016, when Bob is 66, his benefit starts at $2,457. 2 years later, in 2018, when Betty is 66, her benefit starts at $944. Now we see that when Bob reaches his life expectancy at age 85 and his higher benefit switches over to Betty, her income is now $4,268. Under Scenario 1, it was $3,201. You'll see in the next scenario that if he delays to age 70, her survivor benefit will be even higher. Later, when we finish entering all the scenarios and go to the summary page, we'll be able to see how these scenarios compare. Now let's go on to Scenario 3. Now the scenarios are starting to get a little more complex. First, we're going to recommend that Bob start his benefit at 70. This is becoming a universal recommendation for the high-earning spouse because it will provide maximum income to the couple while both are alive and maximum income to the surviving spouse after one spouse dies. If Bob delays his benefit to age 70, Betty won't become eligible for a spousal benefit until she turns 68. Remember, a basic requirement for spousal benefits is that the spouse on whose record the spousal benefit is based must have filed for benefits. By looking at the lower panel, we see that when Bob is 70, Betty will be 68, so that's the first year she will become eligible for her spousal benefit. So we enter age 68 into cell H17 as the age at which the wife will claim benefits on her husband's work record. However, Betty can always claim her own benefit at 66, so we enter 66 in cell H15 as the age she will claim benefits on her own work record. The calculator fills in all the numbers. Notice that Betty's benefit starts out at $944 in 2018 when she's 66, and then 2 years later when she becomes eligible for her spousal benefit as a result of Bob filing for his benefit, her income jumps to $1,372. The income stream for Scenario 3 shows that when Bob's benefit stops, Betty's survivor benefit is now $5,634 per month. Remember, under Scenario 2, it was $4,268, and under Scenario 1, it was $3,201. The difference is that Bob delayed the start of his benefit to age 70. Because his benefit started out higher and stayed higher, his parting gift to Betty is substantially higher income than if he had started his benefit earlier. This is one of the key things you'll be pointing out to clients with this calculator. Most people don't realize how much higher the widow's income will be in her old age if the high-earning spouse delays the start of his benefit to age 70. We saw in the last scenario that Betty couldn't start her spousal benefit until age 68 because she was forced to wait until Bob had filed for his benefit. So now we're going to take advantage of file and suspend. For scenario 4, we're going to have Bob file and suspend as soon as Betty turns 66. This will allow her to start her spousal benefit 2 years earlier. So we enter this into the scenario description box, and we enter age 66 in both places for the wife. The calculator will compare the two benefit amounts and choose the higher one. In this case, her spousal benefit of $1,298 is higher than her own benefit of $944, so this is the income we see in the lower panel starting at age 66 for Betty. Now we're going to really get fancy with the claiming strategies. For scenario 5, we're going to have Betty start her own benefit at 62. The calculator shows that her reduced benefit will be $634. 2 years later, when Bob is 66, he will file for his spousal benefit based on Betty's record. This is the claim now, claim more later strategy. So we enter age 66 in cell H19, the age at which the husband will claim benefits on his wife's work record. Remember, he can't claim a spousal benefit before full retirement age if his own benefit is higher. The calculator automatically fills in half of her PIA plus COLAs to give him a spousal benefit of $447. Bob will receive a spousal benefit for 4 years. Then, when he turns 70, he'll file for his own benefit. Up top, we enter age 70 in cell H13, the age at which the husband will claim benefits on his work record, and we see down at the bottom that his $3,622 benefit starts in 2020 when he is 70. Now, here's where things get a bit complicated. As soon as Bob switches from his spousal benefit to his own benefit in 2020, Betty will become eligible for her higher spousal benefit. So we enter age 68 in cell H17, the age at which Betty will claim benefits on her husband's work record. The calculator automatically fills in a benefit amount of $1,372, which is 1/2 of Bob's PIA plus COLAs. But this is wrong. Since Betty took early benefits at 62, her benefit at 68 won't be the full $1,372. Rather, it will be a combination of her own reduced benefit plus an amount added on for the spousal portion. So we have to change the $1,372 to the correct number. To do this, we unprotect the worksheet by going up to the Tools menu, choose Protection, choose Unprotect Sheet, and enter the password Security. Once you've unprotected the worksheet, be careful that you don't wipe out any of the formulas. All we want to do is change the number in cell H18. To estimate Betty's new spousal benefit, open the Benefit Adjustment Calculator and refer to the section Special Calculation of Spousal Benefit at 66 if wife applied for own benefit at 62. In this case, Betty is 68, not 66, but it's the same process. We'll return to the Benefit Adjustment Calculator in Part 4, but here we see that Betty's new benefit will be $963. So we go back to our unprotected spousal planning worksheet and change the $1,372 to the $963. And here's the new scenario 5 with the corrected benefit amount in cell H18. Here is our very last scenario for Bob and Betty. In scenario 6, we're going to have her start her own benefit at 66. At the same time, when Bob is 68, we'll have him start his spousal benefit off her record. 2 years later, when Bob is 70 and Betty is 68, he switches to his own benefit and she switches to her higher spousal benefit. It took a long time to get here, but I predict that this is going to be the optimal scenario for this couple because no one took a reduction in benefits. Bob receives the maximum because he waited until 70. Betty's spousal benefit won't be reduced because she waited until full retirement age to start her benefit and then switched to her higher spousal benefit as soon as she was eligible for it. And to top it off, Bob took advantage of 2 years' worth of spousal benefits. Before we go to the summary page, let's do a quick review of the scenarios. In scenario 1, Bob and Betty each claim benefits at 62. In scenario 2, Bob and Betty each claim benefits at 66. Bob receives his own benefit, and Betty receives her spousal benefit because it is higher. In scenario 3, Bob delays his benefit to age 70. Betty claims her benefit at 66. As soon as Bob files, Betty, who is now 68, jumps up to her higher spousal benefit. In scenario 4, Bob delays his benefit to 70. When he turns 68, he files and suspends to entitle Betty to her spousal benefit at 66. In scenario 5, Bob again delays his benefit to 70. Betty starts her benefit at 62. Because Betty is receiving her benefit when Bob turns 66, he restricts his application to his spousal benefit and receives 1/2 of Betty's PIA for 4 years until he turns 70. When he files for his own benefit at 70, Betty, who will now be 68, switches to her higher spousal benefit. In scenario 6, Bob again delays his benefit to age 70. Betty starts her benefit at 66, so there will be no reduction when she later switches to her spousal benefit. As soon as Betty files for her benefit, Bob, who will be 68, files for his spousal benefit. 2 years later, when Bob is 70 and Betty is 68, Bob switches to his maximum benefit and Betty switches to her maximum spousal benefit. Here is the summary page showing the combined annual income and cumulative benefits at 5-year intervals when the wife is age 70, 75, 80, 85, and 90. The higher number for each scenario is in bold, so we can see at a glance in the upper section that income will be the highest under scenarios 3, 4, and 6. The lower section shows that cumulative benefits will be the highest after age 80 under scenario 6. This is where Betty filed for her full benefit at 66, Bob filed for his spousal benefit at the same time, and 2 years later, when Bob is 70, he switches to his maximum benefit and Betty switches to her full spousal benefit. So we write this up in the analysis box to show the clients which claiming strategy we would recommend. This scenario planning may seem a bit confusing if you're new to it, but it gets easier with practice. Some advisors start out with the lower ages, like we did here, where we had both spouses claim their benefits as soon as they were eligible at 62. Other advisors go straight to the optimal claiming strategy. A shortcut to the optimal claiming strategy is to make sure both spouses are over full retirement age before doing anything. That way, no one takes a reduction in benefits. Make sure the higher earning spouse starts his benefit at 70, and then try out different scenarios to see how to best take advantage of spousal benefits. Here are some tips for scenario planning for spouses. First, be sure to watch the presentation on Social Security spousal scenario planning, which is posted at www.savvysocialsecurity.net on the subscriber webinars page. This features many more examples and will give you a better understanding of scenario planning. Be alert to invalid scenarios and refrain from entering them into the calculator. For example, it is not possible to claim spousal benefits before the other spouse has filed. That's just a rule. So when designing scenarios, be sure to look at the year-by-year panel that shows the spouse's respective ages. If the husband is 66 and the wife is 60, it wouldn't do any good for him to file and suspend because his wife won't become eligible for her spousal benefit until she turns 62. A high-earning spouse can't claim a spousal benefit before full retirement age if his own benefit is higher, so don't ask the calculator to start his spousal benefit before age 66. And it is not possible to file and suspend before full retirement age, So if a high-earning husband will be starting his own benefit at 70, don't ask the calculator to start his wife's spousal benefit when he is only 64. He must wait until he is 66 to file and suspend, even if that means his wife must wait longer for her spousal benefit. The Q&A document that goes with the spousal scenario planning presentation on the website contains more information about invalid scenarios. Again, it may seem confusing at first, but pretty soon you'll get the hang of it and be able to tell immediately if a scenario is valid or not. And finally, be sure to issue the usual disclaimer several times if you have to. All of these numbers, including the PIAs you're entering into these calculators, are just estimates. No one can know for sure what their benefit will be until they actually apply for Social Security. Next up is part 4 of this calculator orientation series, how to use the break-even calculators.